What happens if a plane door opens mid-flight? For many passengers, flying at 35,000 feet is exciting, but it can also trigger a few scary thoughts. One of the most common fears is imagining a plane door suddenly opening during the flight. Movies often show dramatic scenes where passengers get sucked out of the aircraft, creating panic and chaos. But how realistic is that scenario in real life? Could a plane door actually open mid-flight? And what would really happen if it did? Let's explore the science, engineering, and safety systems behind aircraft doors to understand the truth. How airplane doors are designated. Commercial aircraft doors are not like the doors you see in cars or buildings. They are specifically engineered to handle extreme conditions at high altitude. Most passenger aircraft use plug-type doors, which means the door is slightly larger than the opening of the doorway. When the aircraft is closed and pressurized, the cabin pressure pushes the door tightly into its frame. This pressure actually makes the door more secure as the plane climbs higher. In simple terms, the higher the altitude and the greater the pressure difference, the harder it becomes for the door to move inward. Because of this design, opening the door while the aircraft is in flight is practically impossible. Even if someone tried to pull the handle, the pressure inside the cabin would keep the door sealed shut. Cabin pressure at high altitude. At cruising altitude, usually around 30,000 to 40,000 feet, the outside air pressure is extremely low and the air is too thin for humans to breathe. To keep passengers safe and comfortable, aircraft cabins are pressurized to simulate conditions similar to being at about 6,000 to 8,000 feet above sea level. This pressure difference between the inside and outside of the aircraft creates a strong force pushing outward on the plane structure, including the doors. For a typical commercial aircraft, this force can equal several tons of pressure holding the door firmly in place. Because of this enormous pressure difference, a human simply cannot generate enough force to open the door during flight. What if the door somehow opened? Although opening a main cabin door mid-flight is virtually impossible, it's still interesting to imagine what would happen if a large opening suddenly appeared in the aircraft. The first thing that would occur is rapid decompression. This means the pressurized air inside the cabin would rush out toward the lower pressure outside. Passengers would feel a sudden drop in pressure, loud noise, and strong wind as air escapes the aircraft. However, the idea that everyone would immediately get sucked out of the plane is mostly exaggerated. The airflow is powerful, but passengers who are seated and wearing seat belts would generally remain in place. Loose objects or items near the opening could be pulled outside, though. Oxygen masks would automatically deploy from the overhead panels within seconds. These masks provide passengers with breathable oxygen while the pilots quickly respond to the situation. What pilots would do? Pilots are trained extensively for emergency situations like decompression. If a sudden pressure loss occurs, their first priority is to descend to a safer altitude where passengers can breathe normally. This emergency descent is controlled but rapid, typically bringing the aircraft down to around 10,000 feet, where oxygen levels are safe for humans. During this process, the pilots communicate with air traffic control, stabilize the aircraft, and prepare for a possible emergency landing at the nearest suitable airport. Has this ever happened before? While main cabin doors opening mid-flight is extremely rare due to their design, there have been a few incidents involving other types of openings, such as cargo doors or small structural failures. One well-known example is the cargo door failure on a DC-10 aircraft in the 1970s, which led to significant design improvements in aircraft door systems. Since then, aviation regulations and engineering standards have become even stricter. Modern aircraft undergo rigorous inspections, maintenance checks, and safety testing to ensure these kinds of failures are incredibly unlikely. Why passengers don't need to worry. Air travel is one of the safest forms of transportation in the world. Aircraft doors are built with multiple layers of safety mechanisms, including locking systems, pressure seals, warning indicators, and strict operating procedures. Flight attendants also verify that all doors are properly armed and secured before departure. In the cockpit, pilots receive clear indicators showing whether every door is correctly locked. Because of these safeguards, the possibility of a door opening mid-flight is extraordinarily small. The idea of an airplane door opening at cruising altitude may sound terrifying, but in reality, aircraft are specifically designed to prevent this from happening. The combination of plug-type door engineering and cabin pressurization makes it physically impossible for someone to open the door while the plane is in flight. Even in the extremely unlikely event of a sudden opening or structural issue, pilots and aircraft systems are prepared to respond quickly and safely. So the next time you're sitting on a plane that thought crosses your mind, you can relax knowing that aviation engineers have already planned for it. The doors are built to stay firmly shut, and the entire system is designed with passenger safety as the top priority. Flying might feel mysterious at times, but when it comes to safety, it's one of the most carefully engineered experiences in modern travel.